listening to the Patriot Nation podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast. As always, a proud member of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all those great shows for great Patriots content all week long. But tonight, it's your guys over here at Pat's Nation. It's Pat Lane, it's Matt St. Jean. And Matt, the Patriots are back in the divisional round after winning their first playoff game since Super Bowl 53. And here we are, Houston Texans. And as it says on the bottom, as people can read, number one offense in the AFC, number one defense in the AFC. It's going to be a heck of a matchup on Sunday.
Yeah, this is exciting. Like, this is the kind of matchup that you dream about in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Just like if you're a neutral fan, it's all right. The guy who has the quarterback with the second strongest MVP case, depending on how you view it, and the defense that may or may not have an argument for best defense in the NFL this year. If you go by DVOA, not DVOA, but the weighted DVOA, which I believe Aaron Schatz calls Dave. It's just the name of that metric is Dave.
I like that. These
are the top two teams remaining in the AFC and third and fourth overall right now. So this is a heavyweight battle. I expect whoever wins this one probably ends up being favored in the AFC Championship game.
I think you're probably right.
And, you got two units here that I think are good enough to go to, if not win a Super Bowl all on their own.
I would agree.
Going home.
And I think the team that wins today not only will be favored, but will be playing at home. I do think Buffalo takes care of Denver in Denver.
If we want to talk about that for just a second, I do think it's interesting. The Bills opened as favorites and are no longer favorites.
It's interesting.
Their injury situation right now is rough. They lost two different wide receivers on Saturday to torn ACLs. And I think a bunch of guys in their secondary aren't practicing and have already been ruled out. So I think Buffalo is the better team on paper. But is the group that shows up this Saturday actually going to be better than the group for Denver? I don't know.
It's a good point. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. That game's going to be a lot of fun. On Saturday. So,
yeah. Can we just I think this has been an amazing season this year in the NFL. Like, obviously, it's more interesting for us with the Patriots being good.
Of course.
Like, there's been incredible parity. I thought the playoff races were all very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Last week was probably maybe the best weekend for playoff football ever when you consider the number of games and how good they were.
Yeah.
And all four matchups, I think, next weekend are interesting. So,
depending on how it looks, it's so funny, and that's one of those things too, where you look at it and you think, okay, last weekend the Patriots game was close until the end. They scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was still a one possession game, and that the Texans game was 10-6 in the fourth quarter, right? Until Pittsburgh imploded. So even though those games, the Patriots game didn't end as a blowout, but even though the Texans game ends in a blowout, if you just look at the final score, it wasn't a blowout until the very end. So, some really good games last weekend, and you get Bears Packers, that was just an unbelievable game. And then, the Bears game this week, I think is gonna be an awesome game too. Like it's really the NFC matchups are gonna be a lot of fun too. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and this is just all around really good. I think it's also interesting because you don't know, like, usually you can look at the playoffs and say, all right, you get two good quarterbacks over there, you get two good quarterbacks over there. All right, your Super Bowl teams are going to come out of that group. But you really can't do that this year. And maybe in the AFC, you can make an argument, all right, Drake May and Josh Allen are going to do enough, and there's your AFC Championship game. And I think that's a decent argument. The NFC, we're talking Sam Darnold, we're talking Caleb Williams, who's played well, but not at the level of some of the other guys, Brock Purdy, and then you also have Stafford, And it's like
Yeah.
this year is, and then when you got Bo Nix in the AFC, this year's that tension between quarterbacks and defenses. I think we're, depending on who wins, this might be the least star power on the championship weekend since that 2017 one when it was Brady, Bortles, Foles, and Keenum. Was
Right.
that the
Yeah,
final
Case
four?
Keenum. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. This might be the least star power for a championship weekend since then, and maybe longer. I don't know. So
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, that one obviously you have Brady in it, but like outside of that, it's like they're basically backup level
three
players,
backup.
right? So
Yeah, and
it's interesting.
decent odds that you get Bo Nix and Sam Darnold. Like
Yeah.
if favorites win, both of those guys are going to be playing on Championship Sunday and hosting.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. By the way, I will warn people at times here. I might be enjoying a little bit of stroopwafel. Have you ever had a stroopwafel before?
They are delicious.
So for those of you that don't know, I'll show you my my thing here. I'm currently drinking
Stroopwafel.
some hot chocolate, right? But the stroopwafel is something that you put on top of the drink. And
Okay, I've never done it like that. I've never heard of it like that. I've just had the actual
look at that.
waffle.
You got it. So when you put it on top, it melts it, so it's not as like crunchy, and it melts like the caramel inside. Oh my goodness, it's outrageous.
I didn't realize that we're doing a stroopwafel podcast.
I mean,
I'm in. I'm not
you
against
know,
it. I just didn't see it coming.
when it's the winter time and it gets a little cold out, you get the hot chocolate or a tea or even a coffee, but I think really tea and hot chocolate is what works with the best. And you get that that melted caramel in there, and oh my goodness, it's good stuff.
I gotta try this out. That looks phenomenal.
Yeah, you gotta go to Trader Joe's or something like that or whatever. So pick some up. But anyways, we're beside the point. But the this weekend's gonna be great. And what's fun for me is that Saturday you have the early game, right? You have the game that's going to tell you what's going to happen next weekend, right?
Yep.
The Patriots will know going in, are we going to be hosting the AFC Championship game if we win, or are we going to be traveling to Denver if we win, right? And so as Patriots fans, that'll be fun to know, like, hey, if we win today, we might have another home game, right?
Yep.
Or
I'm sure that would, if the Bills win, I'm sure you're going to have another level of juice in the crowd with the fans knowing with a win, we're back here next week.
Right. That's so it's going to be fun. And that's, and it always is around this time of year, right? It always is. But it's definitely one of those things, man, that like, you just
imagine if I told you a year ago that mid-January 2026, we're going to be right now 120 minutes of football away from hosting the AFC Championship game.
It's insane. It's insane to think about.
Yeah,
this
team's come so far.
I mean, it's not even. Last year they were a joke. Last year they were the worst team in football, and again they won 4 games last year. They really only won 3. The Bills literally let you win that last game. They gave you the game, and you won, and ended up with the 4th pick instead of the 1st pick. And you won 3 games, and now this year you win 14, and now 15, and now let's see what happens this weekend. This weekend to me is such a fun matchup. A lot of people have said it's a very similar matchup to last weekend, which I think is a really fascinating way to kind of look at it. I don't know if it's the same, but I do think people are, drawing some parallels, and I don't think they're way off.
When I think it's interesting to make the comparison, because I think when you make the comparison, it's a good way to highlight what's different about the two teams. There's a lot of similarities. The Chargers had a bad offensive line. The Texans have a bad offensive line. Both of these groups have decent skill guys on offense, and then very strong defensively, with that essentially being the strength of the team, the reason why they are where they are now. The differences, because that's like the high level. A game where you kind of expect the defenses to win the line of scrimmage on both sides. I think what's different here is this. There was a Chargers defense that's whole prerogative, their priority is to take away explosive plays.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is, if you're going to score, it's going to be an 8-play drive, it's going to be a 10-play drive, it's going to be a 12-play drive. you're going to have to do all that without turning the ball over. You're going to have to really win in the red zone, and the Chargers' red zone defense that's elite. So you're going to have to, that old saying goes, matriculate the ball down the field.
That's correct.
Yes. This is the Texans' defense is essentially the opposite of that. And there's a Chargers defense that does that also by disguising a lot. They're going to throw a lot of different things at you. They don't necessarily blitz a ton, but they're going to show you a lot of different coverages, and they're going to disguise. And the Texans are the opposite. They believe that their players are better than your players, and they don't need to really hide what they're doing. They don't mind if you know what they're doing, because they don't think they can beat you. And they think the fact that what they're doing is simple means that they can play with incredible speed. And the fact that they're going to play that fast and hit that hard, and the fact that you're just not going to have many opportunities because their guys are better than your guys, means that they are going to win football games. The flip side of this Texans defense does give up explosive plays. They give up more explosive plays than the Patriots do. They just create more. A lot of defensive touchdowns this year, which if you watched Monday night, you saw 2 of them.
Right.
It's a defense that is filled with playmakers. So I think when it comes to like the tempo of the game, they're going to play out differently. Against the Chargers, you know that both teams are going to be holding onto the ball, and you're not going to get big plays. So you're going to get fewer possessions because it's going to be a lot of, first downs and short gains and all that. I don't expect it to feel like on the scoreboard, it might be similar Sunday. I don't expect it to feel similar when you're watching the game this week, because you're going to have more explosive plays, more negative plays on offense, probably. And you're going to have higher variance, but probably a lot more 3-and-outs. I don't think, this is a Texans defense that you just don't really sustain drives against it. You're probably going to see a lot of 3, 4, 5 play drives, whether that's a 3-and-out, whether that's a 1 first down and then a 3-and-out, or whether that's 2 10-yard plays and a 40-yard touchdown.
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot of those things, which means more opportunities for all the teams, which might end up meaning higher score on the scoreboard because there's more opportunities. The flip side of that is that the cost of a 3-and-out for your offense is a lot less this Sunday than I think it should be last Sunday, assuming your defense can hold up to their end of the bargain. Because I do think Texans worse at the quarterback position than the Chargers were, but I think all around better at the other spots, pending Nico Collins playing.
You kind of feel
the line is bad, not disastrous.
Right. You kind of feel like Nico Collins isn't going to play. We'll see, but you kind of feel like he's not going to play. Feels like a long shot. The fact that he wasn't even out there in a red non-contact jersey today.
He'd have to clear a lot of steps in the protocol.
Yes. And so that seems unlikely. You never know, but it seems unlikely. So ultimately we'll just kind of see where that goes and go from there. You talk about the players, and this is one of those funny things where it's like, yeah, we just roll the balls out, right? Just roll the balls out and play. Because you're talking about, arguably the 2 best pass rushers in the league on the same team, right? Obviously, Myles Garrett not included, but
yes,
Will Anderson is a freak. They gave up a ridiculous amount to get him, and it was well worth it, in my opinion. They signed Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter, I believe, is the second highest paid pass rusher in the NFL. He's making he's on a 1-year, $36 million extension or something like that this offseason. So,
and he's been worth every penny.
And he has been as well. Yes. And, Stingley is a guy that I believe I talked to Thor Nystrom. I always do my draft recap with Thor. And that year that he came out, I believe my quote to him was, if I had the number 1 pick, I would have taken Stingley number 1 overall. I absolutely love him. He's dealt with some injury issues, but when he's healthy, he is awesome. And so, and he's been healthy and he's fantastic. He's a great player. And they just have, and Shakir is a maniac back there. And so, you look at it and you think, not Shakir. What the hell is the guy's name? Number 0.
Al-Shaair.
Al-Shaair. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's a lunatic back there, flying around, taking people's heads off, right? Getting suspended, like whatever, he's crazy.
Well, I think you go through this unit too, and it's like we talked about the 2 defensive ends. They're good defensive tackle too. Sheldon Rankins and Tommy Togiai. You saw, I forget which one it was, but had the strip sack or not the strip sack, but the fumble recovery.
Rankins to the fumble recovery for a touchdown.
And if you watch what he does to the guard on that play, it's abuse. Like that's a crime in 50 states right there.
Yes, it is.
It's unbelievable. These guys are freaks on the pass rush. And that's like we always talk about the dream. If you want an NFL defense, if you want to beat any quarterback in the NFL, be able to consistently get pressure with 4, so you can do whatever you want with coverage on the back end.
Right.
The Texans do that.
That's what they do.
And then, like you mentioned, Stingley, you mentioned Al-Shaair. You also got to talk about Kamari Lassiter, who's their corner 2, who, the season he's having, he should be in top 10 corner conversations right now. He has been unbelievable. He's ridiculously physical, so he'll get flagged, but he's crazy physical. He'll hit hard. He'll press you. I think by the numbers, he's actually having a better season than Stingley's having, in part because he gets thrown at more often because he's the other corner.
Right.
He's been incredible. And at safety, it's Kalen Bullock and Jalen Petrie, who are also
awesome. Yeah.
Technically listed in the starting defense right now is also Miles Bryant. So we'll get to see an old friend again.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's just it's what you want as a defense. Like you got 2 guys who can cover in basically any coverage outside the numbers. You've got elite safety play, and you've got a 4-man pass rush that gets home. You don't need to be fancy when you can do all that.
And that ultimately, right, that's what it comes down to, is that, and we see some, when you talk about coverages, and obviously they're gonna disguise some things, right? It's not like they just play the same vanilla defense every single play. But for the most part, it's just, yeah, dude, we're better than you. Like, go ahead, try to beat us, and again, like you said, that does lead to some big plays, but it also leads to some big plays the other way too. And they figure we can win more than we lose. And if we win more than we lose, then we win the game. Right. And I think that, from a Patriots perspective, right, what you saw last week from Drake May, what I saw last week from Drake May, what I assume everyone saw last week from Drake May, was a guy who made the same mistakes he made in the Pittsburgh game. We've talked about it. We talked about it then. We were worried about it. He cleaned it up most of the year, and then he did it again last Sunday, right? And that was, let a play die. Just let a play die. If you're hit in the backfield and you're going down, just go down. You don't need to try to throw it with 3 guys draped on you, especially on 1st and 10. You just don't need to do that. 4th and 10 with the game on the line, and, we're down 3 points late in the 4th quarter. Okay, sure. You got to do that. But 1st and 10, you don't have to do that. And so, that's something that's going to be important this week. You're going to have to chip and help out Will Campbell. You're going to have to chip and help out Morgan Moses. You're going to have to do that because they're going against 2 phenomenal guys. Now, Will Campbell has some experience against Will Anderson, right? He played against him when Campbell was at LSU and Anderson was at Alabama, and Campbell held his own pretty well, right? I believe he was a true freshman that year when he faced him.
Yeah, he did. I think he did give up a sack in that game.
I think so too. Yeah,
but
and so,
to be fair, that's true freshman again. That's fine.
Well, and that's the thing. And so now you're in the same situation where you're talking about NFL veteran versus rookie, and so it's kind of that same dynamic where it's not going to be perfect. But I also don't expect Will Campbell to be in Drake May's lap every play. And I think Campbell had a rough game. I would assume he bounces back from last weekend. And, this is a situation where the Patriots have to take care of the football. But I think you're going to see some of those plays open up. And I'd use Drake May as a rusher more. And I'd, try to stretch the edge if I can. And I'd run up the middle if I'm able to do. I do all of those things to try to get this defense in conflict and, do just do as much as you can, because ultimately what it comes down to is that you're going to have to find a way to beat those other 7 guys, right? The 4 that are rushing, maybe we can try to take care of them a little bit. But then if there's 7 guys dropping back on every play, we got to find a way to beat those guys. And, whether it's Drake May's legs, whether it's Pop Douglas underneath, whether it's Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson out of the backfield, whether it's, Keyshawn Boutte going deep like he did in May's first start when they were already getting killed. But nevertheless, how are they able to do it? And so that's what I'm really interested in seeing. And it's funny because Stingley and Lassiter are so physical. You wonder about a guy like Kyle Williams. Kyle Williams got a ton of speed, and maybe he can get deep on those guys, but can he get off the line against them? And I think he's a good enough player, but I haven't seen it from him against, elite press man coverage. Can you get past those guys, right? With the hand fighting and everything else. And so it's going to be a fun matchup to watch.
Yeah, when you go back to that meeting last year, I think that's the perfect example of what this looks like. Drake May throws 3 touchdowns in his first ever game against this Houston defense, the version of it that existed last year.
Yeah.
He also throws 2 picks and gets strip sacked and loses the ball, which different group of tackles last year than you're going to have in this game.
Right.
Not Vidarian Lowe and DeMontre Jacobs. Or I think they may have even down to
it was bad.
They were down to that guy who was a guard and tackle who was not on the team for very long.
Zach Tom. No, yeah. Zach Thomas, correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You also look at the touchdowns he throws. It's the deep ball to Boutte. There's one short one to Henry, and then another deep one. It's a deep crosser, basically, to Pop, where he's able to run away and get the touchdown. Right. And that's this Houston defense. They'll give up. If you're going to score, they'll give up some big plays, and they're going to create some big plays of their own.
Yep.
So what that ratio looks like this week, I think it's probably going to be one of your biggest
100%
X factors.
Yep.
I'm picking up, talking about May this past week against the Chargers. Some of those bad habits in the pocket, like you mentioned, I think that's rule number 1. You got to get the ball out quick this week. If you feel pressure at all, get rid of it. This isn't like the Chargers game where it feels like if you give the ball up, you don't know, it might be a little bit before you're getting it back, or you're worried about wasting possessions in a game that might end up being that short. This is one where you just want to live to see another day and be safe with the ball. I think that's going to be massive. This is a Texans group. They have not done well against QB scrambles this year. I believe they're the 31st ranked defense in EPA giving up on QB scrambles. So that's one thing you look at, using May's legs. So I think there's a Texans defense that, I think the big conflict here for a defense, if you're trying to guard the Patriots, you would like to play man coverage because you think you can cover the receivers. Well, if you play man coverage, Drake May will run on you. The Patriots only had 1 completion against man last week. It was the 4th down conversion to Kyle Williams, where he made a great catch on it. That was it. The Chargers stopped playing man because May was able to break a couple of runs, and they didn't feel like they could do that. So I think that tension between what type of coverage you're able to play and how well you're able to contain May is going to be massive. And I think if the Texans win this game, we talk about turnovers and stuff, but down to down, I think the big issue is going to be, can they play man coverage and contain Drake May at the same time? That's not something they've been able to do all year. I think the only time we've really seen that happen was the second half of the Bills game. A group that is simultaneously able to play man and have rushers that are physical enough and guys who can crush the pocket and make it so that there's no running lanes. So I think that is kind of your biggest concern here, other than the turnovers, is if they're able to do that to you.
100%.
If May's able to burn them with some runs and make sure that they're in zone coverage, I think you like your chances here, because you're going to be able to get some one-on-ones outside the numbers, and I think that's to your advantage. And I think you're probably going to see a lot of checkdowns to the backs and to the tight ends, and you're just going to ask them to pick up yards after the catch. So, Ramondre Stevenson is a pass catcher, Hunter Henry, a little Travion Henderson, a little Austin Hooper in this one. I think we're probably going to see a lot of that in early downs, just to not get behind the chains.
Agreed. Agreed. Patty says he sees a big booty game. Booty, 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 booty. Yeah, no, he actually mentioned 96 AFC Championship game, just in the fact that this Keyshawn Booty versus Derek Stingley used to go at it at practice, right? And 96 AFC Championship game, Willie McGinnis, obviously in his third year with the Patriots, going against Tony Baselli, his third year with the Jaguars. So both from USC, both guys who were drafted high. Of course, Booty wasn't drafted
That's
high.
a great call.
You get the idea. There. I like that a lot. So,
yeah.
It's interesting, and that's and we'll see. We'll see ultimately how it goes, but you're going to have to be able to beat man coverage, right? The guys are going to have to be able to beat man coverage, get off the line, get open, and hold the pocket enough for Drake, and I think it becomes a running game for Drake. Like I said, I think that Drake, was able to run a little bit, and can we hit some of those explosives? If we can hit a few of those X plays and take care of the football, I think this could be a game that the Patriots could win, even by 10 points, maybe. I mean, we'll talk about the defense in a minute, but I think that ultimately is what it comes down to. If you just take care of the football, you can hit some of those big plays on them. They are susceptible to that, as you've mentioned a few times, Matt. And I think that, that's the key to victory. Take care of the football, hit some of those big X plays. And now all of a sudden you look at it and say, hey, man, we're going to win this game. We might win by 2 touchdowns. And, again, I'm not saying you're going to walk in and do that, but I'm saying if you can follow those steps, there's a good chance you can do that.
Well, I think you go back. Houston played at Seattle earlier this year in a game. I'm going to guess that not many people here watched because it was the 10 p.m. Monday night game when they did the doubleheader. Yeah. That is, I think that is the NFL game I watched the least amount of this year. Crazy. That wasn't in the 1 or 4 o'clock slot. I was missing because of red zone or whatever. So I went back and watched parts of that game. Seattle wins that game. They score touchdowns on their second and third offensive possessions. So they make it a 14-0 game very quickly. And how do they do that? You've got some heavy play action looks that give you some big plays. And I think that's the other thing with this Texans defense. They basically only play 2 personnel groupings. They play base and with 4-3, and they play nickel 4-2-5. And if they're 75% nickel, 25% base. They're much more comfortable in nickel. They play in that a lot more. That's their strength. I think if you can get the extra linebacker on the field, if you're New England, I don't think you're going to be able to run a lot on them. They have a good run defense. It's not their strength. I think you probably end up with a decent running game, but I don't think you're winning or losing based on your running game on Sunday if you're New England. But I do think if you can get into those heavy sets, that right there is where you can hit your play action shots. Like that Elijah Arroyo, the rookie tight end for Seattle, had just play action leak down the boundary, and he's beating Derek Stingley down the boundary because Stingley's coming up to play the run. Plays like that where I think you can get them. So I think that is a massive key, is just being able to get into some of those heavily personnel groupings. And, if Tonga's back, get him in at fullback or get Thayer Munford out on the field and be able to run just enough to set up those play action shots.
And I think it's a great call by you because you put Munford out there and you kind of almost have to go with the big package, right? You can't go with a small group there. Nickel. Yeah. So you kind of have to do that, and then that opens things up. That's how they scored their touchdown with Hunter Henry's. They had Munford on the field, and they made it look like a pass set. They ran a play action fake. Henderson made a great block, and they're able to hit Hunter Henry over the top. And listen, Derwin James is covering the flat on that play. They didn't even run anyone into the flat, but because they run a play action, he's sucked up just a little bit. And there's no one in the flat, but he's still got to get back there. And like you say, Matt, he got it over his hand by maybe 6 inches, probably less. And it's that type of stuff where it's like May's going to have to fit it into that pinhole. And can he do that? And he's shown the ability to do that this year.
Yep, he can. And I think this is a game too where you're gonna see a lot of quick hitters too. To you don't want him sitting back there.
Correct.
So I think you want your play action shots. And other than that, you want some quick game. We know the Patriots love those plays where it's just 2 receivers on one side, 2 receivers on the other. They're each going to run a concept and you just kind of pick them free snap which concepts you want to attack based on the look, and you see them with both tackles cut blocking, and then you're just going to pick your side and throw it to one of the guys and hopefully pick up 3 or 4 yards. I think we'll see that. And then add
one of those. Of course, that was one of the strip sacks came on a play just like that, unfortunately. But.
Well, in the I believe the Ramondre Stevenson long gain early in that was also one of those that was I don't think it was cut. Oh, there was a couple like to one side on it.
Okay.
And the blitz came
from the 2, right? From the 2 yard line you're talking about?
Yes.
The one to the midfield, yeah.
Which I will add on a quick thing here. The Texans don't blitz a lot. And Ramondre Stevenson, so basically when you watch the game plan back, I think the Chargers thought that if they blitzed, Ramondre Stevenson would stay in to pass protect. And the Patriots were instead had a couple plays where they just had him leak out instead of staying in. Mm-hmm. And May knows where he is and was able to get to him. And we were able to get a couple nice plays that way. The Texans don't really blitz. So I am curious how, I think another way you might lose this if you're the Patriots, if you feel like you have to chip on every play, and if you have to have a 6-man protection against 4 edge rushers, where it's like, all right, we only have 4 receivers out there, and we don't have some of the check down options, that's where it becomes more important for May to make himself the check down with the running game and use his legs there. So that'll be, I think, a really important area. And I think when you do take your deep shots, other than your play action ones, I think you want quick ones. If we're going booty down the sideline, we're hitting that at the top of the drop, or we're throwing it away. We're not sitting there and, or we're going to the top of the drop and we're either ripping it, or we're running up the middle, or we're throwing it away. Nothing else.
Right. Well, and listen, the booty touchdown was just like that. I mean, it's a 45-yard pass or whatever, but it was, I think it was a 5-step drop, and maybe it couldn't have been a 3. It must have been a 5-step drop, and he just chucks it. And he gives his, he's got no safety help over the top, and you give yourself you give your wide receiver the opportunity to make a play, and he does. And that to me, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Kyle Williams run a route like that this week. And, and we'll see. I also think too, this defense is so physical and so fast and so swarming, right? I really think swarming is the word that a lot of people have used. Use that against them, right? Run some different, okay, you want to run a screen pass or one of those quick routes, like you say. For instance, one of those ones where you throw to Pop Douglas behind the line of scrimmage with 2 blockers ahead of him, right? Throw that pass. And then go back to it, right? And fake that pass and see if you can hit a deep shot. Right? Use their aggressiveness against them.
Yes.
And say, yeah, we got a guy out here. He's going to block for a second, and then he's releasing down the field, right? After May throws a pump fake, and now everyone's coming up because the whole defense is chasing the ball, but the ball's going 30 yards down the field instead. So, use that to your advantage. You know that they're going to swarm, so make it look like you're going one way and then go the other way.
And that I 100% agree, especially because this, if you want to beat a defense that plays fast, you want to try to take a step out. You want to try to make them play slower. And the way you do that is to confuse them in some way. Right. So I wonder early, do you go to a trick play, like first or second possession? Do you have something called because you feel like what coverages they're going to be in? If you feel like you can get them in a look and call a trick play where they're just going to be hesitating a little bit. You want to give them some confusion. That's also where the play action's important. Just show them stuff that will confuse them so that they can't play as fast as they would like to.
Go ahead.
Well, you also probably just want to move May too. Get the play action bootlegs so that he can be outside the pocket, or even doesn't even have to be a play action bootleg. Call sprint out and just hit that quick out for 5 yards some of the time.
Right.
Get some of those going, and also this is where the play action comes in to be able to stymie that pass rush.
Exactly. I have a cool trick play. I don't think the Patriots have ran it yet. I think it'd be pretty cool. What if you ran a reverse, but then the wide receiver threw it back to May, and you can use his speed down the sideline, probably score a touchdown. Maybe you could have Efton Chisholm throw it or something like that. He's a guy no one would expect to have the ball. So if you ran a reverse to Chisholm, let's say, and he threw it to to Drake May, that could be a big play.
Yep.
What do you think?
I'm totally down for things like that.
What do you think? Yeah, I think Efton Chisholm could definitely make that throw, 100%.
I would love to see Efton Chisholm throw the ball again. That's the first thing I would like to do in a playoff game.
But I mean, listen, this is like it sounds silly, but like this is where the Edelman play came in, right?
Yep.
You're losing to Baltimore. Baltimore had this same, obviously a different defense, right? But had this same type of attack style defense where they were coming after you and they're trying to kill you all the time. And so you throw the double pass. Now Edelman was a college quarterback and blah, 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 and everything else. But nevertheless, you throw in that trick play because you need a big play, right? And you get one. And of course, in that moment, they're down, whatever, 7 points still, or whatever the case may be. But still, the point is that you needed a big play and you got one by throwing some trickeration in there because you're playing against such an aggressive defense that you take that, you use that to your advantage.
Yeah, and that kinds of stuff is what you want. Yeah. And I will say, I do like this is a strength on strength matchup. Overall, I like New England because I think when you have the quarterback, you're in great shape.
Yep.
And I also, we can segue this to the defense here. I don't think the Patriots are going to have to score a massive amount of points to get the win.
I think if they score 20, that should be enough. I really do. And
I think that's your threshold.
And Nikhil says, 17-10, and that certainly could happen. 17-10 could certainly happen as two. I could see that happening. I just think that I think that the defense has been gelling. They've been playing better. If Tonga's back this week too, you're talking about, run defense wise. You're talking about Milton Williams is healthy. Harold Landry's another week healthier. Robert Splain's another week healthier, right? And Tonga's back. And you just feel like, okay, all those guys together, that makes our run defense a lot better. And I think Christian Ellis has been playing his butt off lately. Jack Gibbons had a solid game, I thought. I think they said Gibbons had like 6 stops or something like that and like 15 plays or something crazy.
Yeah. I think it was 14 snaps, 7 tackles.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like he was just all over the field, and really he was in there on rundowns. And ultimately what it comes down to is that the Patriots guessed right? Like the Patriots did a really nice job of putting in the right personnel for the right moments, right? Jack Gibbons, you don't really want Jack Gibbons out there in coverage, right? He could do it every now and again, but like you don't really want him out there in coverage. But he was out there a lot when they were running the ball, and that's what you want.
Do we want to do an ad break here and then do the rest of our defensive conversation?
Yeah, we'll do an ad break, and then we'll talk about the Patriots defense because honestly, we'll get there. So anyways, this Prize Picks, of course, this Prize Picks read, obviously. This ad read obviously is for Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season out right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Again, find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade. Usually you want to fade us. That's just, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. I'm sorry about that, but usually you just frankly want to fade us. What we do have, there is a max discount on CJ Stroud. Free square coming up this weekend. So make sure you get in on that. It's dropping Friday at 3 p.m. So you haven't seen it yet. Unless you're listening Friday afternoon, but it is coming out Friday at 3 p.m. So make sure you check that out. My Prize Picks for the week. I'm going to do another one that's going to add CJ Stroud in on Friday or Saturday. We'll see what happens. But the one I have right now, I have Josh Allen for more than 36.5 rushing yards. And I have Ramondre Stevenson for more than 35.5 rushing yards. It's kind of crazy that Josh Allen, his number is higher than Ramondre Stevenson's number. But, I guess that's what happens. when you're Josh Allen and you have the opportunity to go God mode, because that's what he does. What you're going to do, download the app Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you're going to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right. Ooh, Thad with a little. Yeah.
Did you see the mic'd up video they made out of the Pats Chargers game?
Yes.
Yeah, those highlights. That
so
was
good.
Do you know what? You know what got me out of this as a real NFL films nerd? They started throwing the music on it, and like the music they throw in the beginning is the one that they use in the Pats Falcons Super Bowl for NFL films.
Is it?
And then the next one they had playing is the one from the most recent Pats Rams Super
I
Bowl.
love it.
That was like, all right, so you're playing the hits. Oh, and the fact that on those videos, they've never they don't add the NFL films music to them. It's usually like either just pretty standard like beats that they'll throw or just game audio and that kinds of stuff. The fact that all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're using the NFL films audio associated with the Patriots dynasty runs is like, all right, things are getting real and like it's playoff football, baby. Like the intensity is there and it felt real again.
It does feel real again. And I will say, and I said this already this week, but the energy in the stadium on Sunday night was just wild. People were excited. People were ready to go. People were, it felt like the good old days, right? But with a tinge of, we now know what it feels like to not be here, right? Like for 20 years, we just assumed. We just said, dude, wake me up in Thanksgiving.
For a bit it was wake me up at the AFC Championship.
I know, right? Yeah, like call me at Christmas. I'll see you in the playoffs. Whatever. Who cares about the regular season? And that hasn't been the case for the last few years. And I think, obviously it wasn't a long time. Clearly, right? But I think Patriots fans have a little bit of perspective now. The young ones, the older ones like me, I'm not even old, the middle-aged ones like me, we have that perspective already. We were watching this team in the 90s when they sucked, right? So, like, kids your age, Matt, don't have that perspective. And so, now you do. And so, now you have that, oh, my God, remember watching freaking Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi out there trying to win games for you, and Cam Newton who couldn't throw the football and, whatever, right? It was a disaster. And, this is that same type of stuff where it's like, now we're back. And yes, we think we're back to stay, but we don't know, right? We now know what it feels like to fall off that cliff, right? And I think that, we just want to hold on to that as long as we can, because ultimately we just don't know what the future holds. And, it's really, it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be a Patriots fan. And I think, just soak it in, man. And I said this during the Brady tenure, it's going to be over, and we're going to, you're not going to have appreciated as much as you should have. We all that's just the way it always is, right? And so appreciate it, enjoy it, go to the game. If you're going to the game like I am, be ready to yell your ass off. You have Monday off, right? You got Monday off. So, you can get after it. You can get after it, right? Like, just go hard at the game, be yelling, be loud. Like, that's what we want. That's what it takes.
Yeah. I think you're going to get a great atmosphere for this. The weather might be a factor here. National Weather Service. I'll just read the most up-to-date report for Sunday from the National Weather Service. A slight chance of snow before noon, then a slight chance of rain between noon and 3 p.m., then a chance of snow after 3 p.m., mostly cloudy with a high near 37, southwest wind 3 to 6 miles per hour, chance of precipitation is 30%, snow accumulation of less than half an inch possible. So not a snowstorm, but we should get, it sounds like there's at least a real chance of precipitation during this game, which we're talking about an AFC divisional playoff with bad weather against an AFC South team that plays in a dome. Like, obviously, this isn't Pat's Colts 2004,
right?
But a similar score, I think, is possible. Similar
Surely could
weather
be.
conditions here are possible. As we get closer, we'll get a better idea of the weather. And I was trying to explain what like the meaning of that snow to my fiance about how like it's every key Patriots playoff moment from that early dynasty run that happened at Gillette Stadium felt like it happened in the snow.
Yeah.
You've
Yep.
got
Tuck
the Tuck
rule.
rule. You've got Ty Law picking off Manning 3 times.
Yep.
You've got Corey Dillon running through that Colts defense
Yep.
to seal that
The
game.
Brewski touchdown against the Dolphins. That's regular season, but still.
Yeah. And I don't think we've had a postseason snow game in New England since that Pats Colts game in 2004.
You might be right. Because
you had a 3-4 year run there where
the Deflategate game was rain, which is a nightmare.
48 and raining, yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, I think you're right. We haven't had a snow game since. By the way, Patty mentions Jeff Carlson from 1992. Still the worst QB he's ever seen. Let me just read you Jeff Carlson's stats from 2 years. So I'll include Tampa Bay in 1991 as well. Okay. This man, 7 games total, 3 starts, 0-3 record as a quarterback. Okay. 43% completion percentage. By the way, in his 2 starts to the Patriots in 92, he had a 36.7% completion percentage. 36 points. How's that even possible? 36.7%. But 43 for his career, 2 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 636 yards passing. Just insanely terrible. Again, 36.7% completion percentage in 2 starts to the Patriots, 18 for 49. 18 for 49. It's
makes you appreciate Drake May a little bit more, huh?
Just a bit. So it's pretty wild to think about, that the Patriots were, trotting these guys out in 1992. So that of course was the year before they drafted Drew Bledsoe, thanks to, I believe it was a coin toss against the Seattle Seahawks. And Seahawks, of course, drafted Rick Meyer out of Notre Dame, who won the Rookie of the Year that year in 1993, and then sucked the rest of his career. Really wasn't even that good his rookie year, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Bledsoe ended up being the better pick. Side note, we got a question from Thad here, or not quite a comment. We only beat the Colts because we deflated the footballs, mentioning that. Pat, I have an idea.
Yes.
Because we did this last year where we hit the lull in the schedule and we decided to do our 2003-2004 look back.
Yes.
This year, we should do a Deflategate look back.
Oh my God, dude.
And just go through all the insanity that was that case at recently, I think it was last year, I refreshed myself on the case. I read the Wells report in its entirety because I was like, it's been a decade. I don't remember the specifics.
Right.
Let me just read the report and then read the other stuff and see where I landed. And say, all right, with time, did I change my opinion? Not one bit.
No.
I was just as mad when I finished reading that as I was when I was in high school and everything happened.
Unbelievable. Only if we can have Michael Hurley on. So that's my stipulation. If Michael Hurley will join us, we'll do it.
We should invite him.
But anyways, all right, let's get into this game on Sunday when the Patriots are on defense and the Texans are on offense. You saw what CJ Stroud looked like on Monday night. I'm sorry. He was an absolute mess. That interception at the goal line was just one of the worst throws I've ever seen. It's just insane how bad that throw was. Had a few fumbles as well. Like he turned the ball over 3 times. And, because Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh and they stink and Aaron Rodgers is washed, they weren't able to turn him into anything. If the Patriots can do that to CJ Stroud, and by the way, I don't expect CJ Stroud to be that bad this week. I just don't. CJ Stroud is a better quarterback than that. So to get 2 straight weeks of that from CJ Stroud, I think is very unrealistic. I do think the play is up and down from him a little bit, and you can fool him into something, but he's a good player. He's still a good player. He's going to be without Nico Collins. That's going to make a big difference. But, he's able to hit Christian Kirk for 100 and some odd yards receiving on Monday night, right? So he'll go to his other targets. Jalen Noel and, Jaden Higgins are 2 talented rookies that he's been, unafraid to use. And Dalton Schultz, I believe, had 77 catches this year. Like, they like to use the tight end, like to throw to the tight end. So they have a pretty good offense. And of course, Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. Mark's a solid rookie who had 100 yards rushing. I think they said he was the first rookie running back with 100 yards rushing in the playoff game since, I forget who it was. It's been years, though. It's been a good amount of years since there was a rookie running back with, and not on Houston, just like in the NFL. There's been a rookie running back with 100 yards rushing in a playoff game. So, they have a talented front. They have a talented offense. It's a little volatile, but, again, I'm not expecting CJ Stroud to turn the ball over in confounding ways on Sunday, because I just don't see him doing that 2 games in a row.
Yeah. Well, and this is a Texans team that has won the turnover battle handily all year. They have the second best turnover differential in the NFL behind just Chicago. And they're second in turnovers on offense, third on defense. They're first in fumbles lost offensively, and then fourth on defense. So I think that is a note. Like, as a team, they've gotten very lucky with fumbles all year. And maybe you just get some luck in this game if you're New England, and that luck kind of reverses itself. You get our favorite statistical fact, regression to the mean, in your favor on Sunday. That would be a very nice thing, which Patriots fans have dealt with that 2011 team that gets to the Super Bowl, and I think 5 fumbles in that game, all recovered by the Giants. If I'm remembering that correctly.
I believe so.
Something like that, yeah. So a performance like that, where the Texans have gotten lucky there all year, and it looks on your side on Sunday, I think would be pretty nice. Stroud's about average when it comes to turning the ball over. You might pick him. You're probably not going to do it more than once. Texans, just as a team, have not turned the ball over that much. So I think you're going to have to count on just beating them straight up. That said, they finished 12th as a team in points. 13th as a team in points scored this year. But as an offense, they are 21st in points per drive. The difference in those two numbers has to do with their defense producing a lot of points on its own. And then they did miss CJ Stroud for a big chunk of the year, which then also alters these stats. You can put it all together, and it's probably about a league average offense. I think that's about what this figures out to. They're good in the skill positions, but without Nico Collins, how does everyone else stack up, I think, is a big question. And then this offensive line, they're not good. They're not horrendous, but they aren't good. When healthy, right now, the starting lineup would be rookie Arante Ursary at left tackle. Listeners of the show may be familiar with that name from our breakdown last year. Titus Howard at left guard, who is on the injury report. Jake Andrews, the former Patriot, at center. Ed Ingram at right guard. And Trent Brown, former Patriot, at right tackle. Ingram and Brown also on the injury report. Trent Brown did not practice today, did not practice yesterday. Unclear if this is a rest situation and he's going to play Sunday, or if it's an ankle injury, if that ankle is bad enough that he might be out. But the next man up at tackle, I believe, would be Blake Fisher, the second-year guy, at Notre Dame, another player that we had talked about previously that we liked. So it's a group that I think has finally gotten to play together a little bit, so they've been better. I think the key to the game, though, for the Patriots defense, it's in the trenches in the running game. One of the eye-opening stats for me, I'm going to give a shout-out to Sumer Sports here. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Sumer, but they do a lot of sports football data, and they launched a tool last week that gives you live advanced play-by-play, and it gives you basically you can sort by, all right, what personnel was used, what are they running against, live during the game. They track the stuff as it goes. And I was looking at this. The Texans, despite not having a good running game this year, were incredibly productive against heavy boxes. So when the Steelers were stacking the box, trying to stop them from running the football, they were still able to play well anyway. I think that kind of becomes your X factor. Because we saw what this Patriots defense can do to you if they can force you to be one-dimensional, if they can force you into third and long. And it's not like I don't expect your offense to build enough of a lead that on its own is going to make the Texans have to throw the ball. So if you want them to throw, you're going to have to make them one-dimensional by stopping the run. Last week, the Texans were able to stop the run, or were able to run the ball even when you were trying to take it away.
And that's
with Tonga looking like he's coming back this week, like that, I think is where this game could be won and lost when the Texans have the ball.
Well, 100%. And this is a team, in the Patriots that didn't allow a 50-yard rusher for a long time, right, this season. And then, until that Tampa Bay game, and guys were out. Did they play? I don't know if they played with that full defensive front seven from that Tampa Bay game on until now. With Tonga being out and Splain being out and Landry being out and, and a combination of those guys. Not that all those guys were out at the same time, but I don't know if all those guys were playing at the same time really since then. And so, it's a question of what does it all look like when Houston tries to run the ball. If you can shut the run down, as you said, that's the key. That's the key to the game. Can we control CJ Stroud? I think so, especially without Nico Collins. Sure, we got to take some things away. And Jaden Higgins is a big-bodied receiver who I loved coming out, as people know. Jalen Noel is a guy that Matt loved coming out, as people know, right? We kind of went back and forth about Kyle Williams and Jalen Noel. It's good. It's going to be interesting here because obviously two very different offenses against two very different defenses, right? But it is going to be interesting to see. Kyle Williams is going to have a real chance. Right? He's going to have a real chance here to make some plays. Is he going to be able to come through? And if Kyle Williams has some plays, you're like, oh, okay. And let's say Kyle Williams does and Jalen Noel doesn't, right? And again, it doesn't mean anything, but it does feel nice, right?
Narrative. Yeah.
Whereas if it's the other way around, you're kind of like, oh, man, that's maybe we didn't make the right pick. And again, I actually think Kyle Williams has, and I think we talked about it on Monday a little bit, but his willingness to block, I think, has been fantastic. On the Ramondre Long catch that you talked about earlier in the show, his ability to just read it right away and see that he needed to become a blocker, that sprung Mondre, right? He was able to make that block. Mondre runs off him to the outside, and he picks up that 48 yards on that play because he makes that block. And I think that, that's something that gets overlooked a lot. I know the Patriots don't overlook that. I know they talk about that quite frequently. And I think people have done a pretty good job of pointing that out on Patriots Twitter. But, it's something that yet doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but it makes him a valuable guy there. And it's not something you thought you were getting out of Kyle Williams. Right? When we looked at Kyle Williams in the draft, it wasn't like, oh, dude, this guy's an awesome blocker. And wait till you see him in the open field and he's blocking for. It's like, no, of course not. No one's talking about that with Kyle Williams. But it feels like every explosive play we've had, whether it's a running catch or whether it's, a long run, has been sprung in some way by a Kyle Williams block downfield. And that's just, it's great to see him doing that and making his presence felt that way. And if he can make his presence felt this week with a long pass reception, that, obviously makes things even better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. I'll take us back over to the defensive side of the ball for a second while we're talking about
sidetracked it.
No. Well, perfect segue. We're talking about the rookie class, because I thought one guy who was superb, maybe the best player not the best player on the defense, it's Milton Williams, right, but one of the best players on the defense last week was Craig Woodson. Led the Patriots in tackles, 9 on defense, 2 on special teams, and it shows up on tape. It's not sexy, but one of the hardest things to do as a safety is what they call it. Fitting from depth. What it means is that if you are playing 12, 14 yards away from the line of scrimmage, you have to be able to get into a running lane and fill it and then make a tackle, which is just difficult because you have to get there quickly. So you have to play with speed. And then also, while playing with that straight line of speed, be able to read the play and be agile enough to fit into a gap to stop their running back. You have to be able to play quickly and under control at the same time. And I thought he was superb at that. You see it on the game's first play when Carlton Davis goes, and we didn't talk about this. He broke up the pass. I don't know if you actually got a replay of this. It's the first play of the game. It's the quick hitter underneath where Carlton Davis drives on it and misses, and the receiver catches it and goes. Carlton Davis hits the ball. He deflects it, and the receiver catches it anyway.
Really?
And Craig Woodson comes over and just gets there fast, makes a wrap tackle, no yards after the catch. You saw it later on that possession on a quick screen RPO, and he's the guy that has to come in and make the tackle on the receiver the way things are designed, and he gets there so quickly. Lined up as the free safety. He gets all the way outside the numbers. And again, a perfect wrap tackle, gets him by the ankles, not going anywhere. He also made a tackle lined up in the box where he gets under the tight end into the backfield, and I don't know if it was a TFL.
I think it was a TFL. If it's the one, I'm thinking of, I believe it was.
If it's not a TFL, it's stop for no gain. It's an incredible play. Just having a safety who can do that stuff. We talked about needing a safety who could be an X factor, and I thought Woodson was an X factor for you all came along. So I think you're going to need another performance like that this week. You're going to need Milton Williams to show up, but if you can stop this Texans rushing attack, which they against heavy boxes last week, they went 100 yards, 17 carries, over 5 yards per carry. When you are loading the box, that is not great. So if you can, in those situations, Spillane, Ellis, Gibbons, all also going to be factoring in huge there, just to get to the ball carrier, get to the ball carrier, take him down, and don't give up anything crazy.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it's going to be a challenge. But that's where you talk about winning and losing the game, and so much of this, so much of the stuff that we talk about is you want to talk about Drake May, right? And you want to talk about the pass rushers, and you want to talk about those guys. But really, again, what it comes down to is, what can those other guys do? The trenches, really, when you talk about like controlling the line of scrimmage. Right. And making a team one-dimensional, that just matters so much. And especially for the Patriots who, listen, they're a lot more talented than they were last year. They're a lot more talented than they were last year. I will tell you that on paper, to a man, if we're just going dude versus dude, Houston is more talented than the Patriots are. They just have more talented players than the Patriots do. They got like multiple all-pros on defense. They got guys that are, some of the best in their, at their entire position defensively. And so that matters. Patriots have the quarterback. So that makes a big difference, obviously. But, it's one of those things where like, that stuff makes a difference, and I think that, if you can make the right plays and stop the right guys, that you win this game even with that. And I think that, that's what I'm looking at least.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back to that Texans-Seahawks game real quick here, because Seahawks are, one of the top offenses in football. And that's a great test right there. Pat, I lost you, Pat. But the Texans Seahawks game, I think, is a great example of like what the Texans defense can look like. Yeah, on the road, mid-season against a good offense, and the Seahawks really dominated that game. The final score ends up being 27-19. That includes a defensive touchdown, and the Seahawks end up pulling ahead 27-12 before a late touchdown makes it a little bit interesting. They're up 46.5, and I think this is the kind of game the Patriots are absolutely capable of playing. We saw what they did to the Browns defense earlier this year, which, is different in that they play more man coverage, and they only have the one-star pass rusher instead of the two. But similar overall level that defense is able to play to, the Patriots were able to hit big plays on them. I think the Patriots are going to be able to do that early. And if you can do that, you can build a little bit of a lead. That's going to be all it takes. When you look at the Texans, excuse me, their losses this year: 14-9 at the Rams, 20-19 against him, 17-10 against the Jags, 27-19 at Seattle, but only 13 of those points come on offense. 15-18 against Denver, which is their last loss, which was November 2nd. It's win their offense, struggles. If their offense isn't, the defense will hold teams, but the offense has to get to like 20 points. And if the same Patriots defense we saw last Sunday shows up this Sunday, and no Nico Collins, I think 2 touchdowns on offense is probably enough to get the job done.
I agree. So we'll see. We'll see. You got any other notes, Matt?
Just from watching the tape, I thought, what do you call it? Carlton Davis. This is something Mike Reese also mentioned. He upgraded him from a bad to a neutral after watching the tape, and I 100% agree with that. I thought he was physical, and I thought his tackling really stood out.
Yep.
A key play I don't know if we really delved into, but the designed Justin Herbert run in the red zone after the early pick.
It's a really nice play by him.
Yeah, Carlton Davis just wins to the outside, reads the play, forces Herbert to slow down where the tackle happens there. It's Gibbons and Davis.
Chasing, yeah. Well, Jason covered, Jason and Gibbons are chasing it from the side, but he scores if Davis doesn't get on the outside, right? He gets that outside leverage, wins to the outside, and again, like you say, forces Herbert to slow down.
It did make me wonder for Carlton Davis as a player, if he slows down and just doesn't have the man coverage stuff in him anymore, does he have future as a safety? He tackles well, and he's willing to play physically. He just doesn't have that high-end speed. You just play him as a box safety. That's something that kind of came to mind watching him.
I don't know if he's quite big enough for that. As far as box safeties, I don't know.
But throw on a couple pounds of muscle, maybe. I don't know.
True.
Something came to mind. I thought as a whole, the defensive backs tackled so well in that game. And I thought you saw the cascading effect of like, all right, Milton Williams is getting pressure and Robert Spillane is in. Everyone else gets asked to do a little bit less, and that makes life easier. Herbert was also atrocious. I do think this is one thing. Like, if you want to make the argument for the Texans winning this game, there's a real chance that the C.J. Stroud that plays this Sunday is better than the Justin Herbert that played last Sunday. Everything else not being taken into account. So I think if the Texans are able to run the ball a little and hit play action shots over the middle and get to the tight ends, like that's offensively their path to victory. Get 17 points that way and get a defensive score in there, or get a couple short fields. That'll be important. Texans defense isn't anything special in the red zone either. They just don't allow it very often. I tweeted this out earlier this week, but the Patriots allowed the fewest red zone opportunities in the NFL this year, and the Texans had the third fewest. It's 40 for the Patriots, 44 by the Texans. These teams just don't allow you into the red zone very often.
Right.
Both defenses do kind of allow you to score once you get there. Patriots way worse, but both teams will allow you to score when you get down there.
Right. Yeah, it's true. So we'll see. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I say, if you're there, tailgating before, enjoy it, have fun with it. Hopefully you're there with your friends and or your family. I'm gonna be there with both. So, and have fun. And let's hope that we're back here next Sunday, or next Thursday night talking about, the AFC Championship game this Sunday in Foxborough. That'd be pretty cool. So we'll see. Yeah. And that, let me tell you something. Talk about stress as a Patriots fan. Against the Bills and Josh Allen.
Or Denver. If you're going back to Denver, too, I think that's
of course.
That's a stressful situation. Yeah. Well, I will say, as someone who really wants the AFC Championship in Foxborough and who relishes that opportunity against Josh Allen, I will say the best opportunity for the Patriots might actually be that the Broncos look awful, but the Bills are too banged up to capitalize.
Right.
Because then you might just play a Broncos team that like peaks too early and the defense doesn't quite have it anymore. And it's an offense that is largely propped up by what Sean Payton can do and doesn't have a whole lot else to it.
Again, and we're 2 games away from this. But if the Patriots go through the Chargers, the Texans, and the Broncos, that would arguably be the most challenging defensive road to a Super Bowl ever. You talk about, the Chargers are a top 5 defense. The Texans are a top 3 defense, and they're not 3.
And the Broncos are a top 3 defense, and they are 3.
Right. So that's like, so you talk about like 3 top 5 defenses, and it's just like, my goodness, if you're able to do that, and if somehow you play in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks and win that, then that could arguably be the most difficult path ever to a championship. Now, again, we're 3 games away from that. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but that path is there. And I will say, ever since the Bills won officially in Jacksonville, my thought while watching the end of that game, knowing that the Jaguars are going to blow it, was we're going to see Buffalo in 2 weeks here. And we'll see what happens. But that was the thought that kept occurring to me.
Yes.
Was that, we're going to see Buffalo in 2 weeks here, and I'm going to be miserable the whole time because I'm terrified of playing Buffalo. I know you don't feel the same way. I'm terrified of playing Buffalo. And it's just the loser in me. It's not the loser in me. It's the we've always been able to hold it above their heads. And if they beat us to go to their first Super Bowl and somehow win that Super Bowl, then it's like they have that for us forever. But at the other side, we've always owned the Bills. If we get to the Super Bowl, I mean, I just can't. I can't even.
Yeah. The stakes would be, that's the higher stakes matchup of the two.
100%.
Which would be fun. So,
yeah.
And if Josh Allen's able to go into Denver and win with that cast of characters, with how banged up they are, that's a feat, and that's going to be a tough team to beat.
Oh yeah,
how healthy they are coming in.
By the way, did you see the stat that the Bills are the fourth team ever to win a playoff game? I think it's 6 straight years. They've won a playoff game in 6 straight years.
They're the only one to do without a Super Bowl.
The other ones have at least 3 Super Bowls.
Wow.
They're the only ones without one. So it's pretty. They haven't even made a Super Bowl. Never mind win one.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they look. That's going to be such an interesting game.
Yeah.
Maybe the most interesting game of the weekend. No, but Bears is really interesting.
That's
Obviously,
gonna be a
Pats
wild
Texans.
I think the Bears. By the way, I think the Bears. So let's go through the games super quick. I don't want to spend time on them. We got to get the heck out of here. It's almost 11:30.
Yeah, just quick picks.
But
who are your 4? Just say who your 4 are.
So okay. So you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You go first.
All right, I'll go first. I got Buffalo.
Okay.
I got Seattle.
Okay.
I got New England.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the Bears.
Okay. I'm going to hedge a little bit here because I tweeted out my picks and I have kind of thought of that a little bit more and changed my mind a little bit. So I tweeted out exactly that the other day.
Yep.
I might switch this up and go Denver, Seattle, New England, and LA.
LA.
Yeah.
I
think the argument there is that Rams running attack is so good. And I think it might just end up being so good that nothing else matters.
Yeah, you might be right. You certainly might be right. I also think the thing for me is that I think that it's a dome team playing in the extreme cold. It's not just cold. It's extremely cold.
Yeah, wind chill in the single digits.
Yeah, and so it's going to be difficult to pass the ball in that situation. If they can run the ball, and maybe it doesn't matter. But I think that, that's a tough one for me. And look, and Dad says don't underestimate the Niners, and I certainly don't. I mean, what Kyle Shanahan's done this year is incredible. I just think the Seahawks are a wagon. I will say, I'm taking the points. 7 points is wild for that matchup that has been 2 incredible games. I think it's close, but I ultimately think that Seattle wins that game.
Did you see the injury report for Seattle?
I did not.
Sam Darnold's on it now.
What?
Quad. No, not quad. Back.
Was he limited today?
Yes.
Okay. So he played. He practiced, but
he's going to play. The question is how well is he going to play? What percentage healthy is he right now?
Well, and that's the question, right? That's
oblique. That's what it was. Yeah, he's got an oblique injury.
Okay.
Which tweaking that a couple of days before a playoff game is a bye, like that's pretty brutal luck right there.
It's not. I agree with that. So But we'll see, man. It's oh boy, that's going to be interesting. So I'm fascinated in that matchup's going to be an awesome matchup. That Saturday night game is going to be sick. It's going to be sick.
I'm
the Sunday night
excited
game's gonna
for
be
a
fun,
weekend in on the couch. Like I made wings last Sunday. I'm gonna do the same this Sunday.
There you
I
go,
found
there
a
you
wing
go.
recipe that's working out for me.
Love it.
Yeah,
We had so
devouring
much.
them.
Oh my god, we had so much good food. Our tailgate is ridiculous. The food that
I gotta
we got.
come join you guys.
You do, because we had kielbasi and we had
I love it.
chicken and we had pork ribs and we had steak tips and we had ribs. So we had boneless ribs. Then we had ribs on the bone. We had, oh my god, we had all
Ooh,
sorts of
I
stuff. It
gotta
was
do.
wild.
I do have. I found a recipe for some oven ribs too that was really good, and I'm gonna have to
There
make
you
that
go.
again. I made it during a Pats game at some point earlier this year, and I don't remember which one. And I was supposed to share with my fiance,
And you
and
didn't.
she was like, I ate like the first half of the ribs, and then she was like, yeah, I don't think I'm in the mood for the other half. Gone
You're like,
2 minutes
okay,
later.
sounds
Just
good.
devoured. Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
Love it.
Ready to eat good this weekend.
Yeah,
And we got the long weekend, so
that's right, baby. So
one way or another, I think we're going to be drinking after this Pats game.
she potentially. So I think we'll probably go Monday again, as opposed to Sunday night. We'll let you guys know.
Well,
But
the game does end at like 6, and if we
It
have
does.
nothing on Monday, we have some time Sunday night to.
that's certainly true. So
Especially if I think if the Patriots win, then we should definitely do the show Sunday night because we'll be able to react to
I think
who
you're
they're
probably
going to be
right.
playing.
I think you're probably right. I
We'll
think it's
know
right.
the AFC and NFC championship games at that point. I think we'll need one that night.
Yeah. So, well, that would be fun. That also, sorry for your loss, sir. That stinks. So it would be kind of fun to see a Rams Patriots Super Bowl if that's the case. If that was your grandma's team. So
It'd be a third. This would become a theme.
it'd be pretty wild. So
And it would be kind of crazy if there
home
was a
game. Home game for the Rams, right? No. It's in San Fran. Right state, wrong city.
Yes. It would be kind of crazy if the Pats played the Rams. That would be the third different uniform set the Rams would have worn in the 3 matchups because they were in there. Well, they were in that era before when the early 2000s where everyone thought the darker colors were cool. So they were in the navy blue and gold and like the light gold. And then they were in the throwbacks for the last one. And that was okay. So we actually, I want to talk about this for a second. How close we have come to disaster branding wise with the Rams twice in the Super Bowl now, because when they played the Patriots in 2018, that was the year that when they were in LA where they had the mismatched set of uniforms.
Oh,
where at home
right.
they wore the throwbacks, then on the road they wore the uniforms where the helmet was navy and white and the pants were navy and white, but it was still the old jersey that had the gold on it, and it was just
so stupid,
totally mismatched. And then when they won in 2021, so you might remember they wore the white jerseys and the gold pants for that one. That was their alternate jersey. When they revealed the new set, they had the bone jerseys to wear on the road. They had the off-white jerseys that also have white stripes on them. And I don't know why anyone ever thought that was going to work or look good. And immediately they moved off of it. And the NFL, I think everyone involved realized that a mistake was made there. When they got to the Super Bowl, the NFL was like, all right, we're just going to have you wear the alternate, and we'll just make that the road uniform next year, and we'll just pretend the bone one was always an alternate.
Well, it's one of those ones where it's like, how did that get past people? Like, there's got to be people that have to approve that stuff, and it's like, who thought that looked good?
Yeah,
I don't know. So,
well, and that was always we're very close to getting a Super Bowl where the Rams were wearing a mismatched uniform in the Pats Rams one in 2018, and in what do you call it? Well, that wasn't the Pats Rams, but in 2021 when they were there, a uniform that just didn't make any sense. And then AFC team is at home this year in the Super Bowl, so you would just get the same matchup as when the Rams came to show that last year. Actually, yeah, no matter what, I think you're probably getting the same match because if it's an NFC West team, Seattle and the Rams both came to Gillette.
True.
And for both of those games, the Patriots wore the silver pants, which they're rocking with for the playoffs. And I think both of those teams wore the uniforms in those games they would pick for the Super Bowl. So
I like it.
Um,
That's some schedule talk for you at 11:30 at night on a Thursday night.
not
Who
not
is
just
giving me
schedule
that?
talk,
Others.
uniform schedule talk.
Uniform schedule talk for you at 11:30 at
Who else
night
is doing that
on
but
a
us, Matt?
Thursday afternoon. You
Yeah.
sickos up with us Thursday night listening to uniform schedule talk. Go
And
to
the
bed,
difference
for God's
between
sake.
the bone alternate uniform and the white primary uniform.
So as people evacuate the chat. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate you. Hopefully we'll be back with you. I assume we'll be back with you Sunday night, talking about the divisional playoff game, Patriots versus Texans. Hopefully it turns out just like when the Patriots played the Texans in the playoffs before. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Nice.
But anyways, enjoy the games, everyone. Be good to each other and go Pats.